what I usually like to do is be able to edit, from that world. It's just put news cutter, and then we're gonna have me talking, and then we're gonna want what they call a B-roll, or is it A-roll? I don't know. I don't remember all the lingo. I should know all the lingo, but it's the stuff. A B-roll stuff. You send the camera photographer out. There's Macy's establishment shots or whatever people are walking through, but it could be A-roll actually, because I'm talking about something. I'm showing you exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know, or is A-roll, whatever, me talking to you. Okay, whatever, it could be B-roll. So whatever it is, the term B-roll is not good enough for the newsroom. Anyway, so I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to hold it up like this. I wanna talk about what I have to do kind of hypnotically in order to bring this stuff forth. It requires more mental processing power and prophetic revelation kind of than writing a novel, because what it is that this is the kind of stuff people don't want crystallized. This is the kind of stuff that people don't want people spending too much time thinking about. And I've never read any of this in psychology literature. I've never read any of this in connecting all of these components. The reason being that, like I said, if it's something that doesn't start to innately or naturally develop, they don't want people being conscious developers, because you teach a kid to be a conscious developer of himself, and then a lot of real estate development, so he can have the money to do all the things he wants to do, then what's going to happen is the person's going to end up impregnating their daughters with bad DNA. Well, but you enjoy your life more if you can do all of this stuff. So I'm going to show you what I'm making. Which I had this. I've got all these notebooks because I started writing on this notebook. I said, if you don't aim for range, you won't develop control. And so it's an interesting thing that my head works with, male merge fields, or you could call them variables. So if you don't aim for Y, you won't develop X. And it's interesting to think about it that way, but because the vocabulary when I'm in this state has to be it's a very slow moving. I can do it quickly, but it's held on a different personality disc, like the MTS logo, spinning, and then if I want to do something else, I gotta change the disc. But speaking of that, it's very interesting. As I looked at that picture of myself as a kid when I was in Alvah Elementary School, walking through those sacred fields of Alvah, I'm beginning to realize something. I look at how spontaneous I look in that picture. I can't edit it in. I'll put a link to it. I'll put it on a public website, and then I'll put that picture there, and I'll put a link to it. And it's gonna be right there in the description. Everyone else is just sitting there looking at the teacher, and I'm trying to dance around. And it turns out, this person must have ADD. No, the person's a genius. But he might be a conscious developer. It might be more of an act, because he knows, even though the brain ain't like everybody else's brain, picking up on everything, absorbing, he's gonna have to write down in college on a piece of paper, constantly writing over and over and over again to get knowledge that everybody else would just ascertain or ingrain into their mind, into memory through muscle memory. He's still gonna do it, and he wants to use penis, so he has to be at the party. He's ready to be at the party. Some would say that about me, so you better make them sit still in a chair. But there's a New York Times article that came out that was talking about, and this was, I think, specific to New York schools, but it's talking about how kids just can't sit still anymore. They shouldn't sit still. Kids shouldn't sit still. If the elementary schools are trying to make them sit still, they're in the wrong place. Get them out of there. And they should all be moving. They should all be moving at that age. They should all be moving at middle school. They should all be moving in high school. We should all still be moving. I was watching my psychiatrist. A sad thing to see that this guy that drugged me that way and had no clue what he was doing during my teenage years made my penis the size of a pencil eraser. He's now back in his hometown of Lexington, Kentucky, and he's saying, teens' lives are much faster than ours, and so we don't want to interrupt all of the things they have to do. So when we TMS their brains and zap their brains, so he's doing that now. That's okay. We want to make it accelerated TMS. He should be talking as fast as the teens he thinks aren't talking. He should be in a mental. It should be in a dementia. He should be in one of these places where you go, you drool on yourself, you've got no clue what's going on around you. They put pictures up around you on top of a cork board, so when your family comes in, they think you're still alive because they see you, drooling there on yourself in what's called nursing home. But so just letting you know. But my head was wondering, what is that word? What is that word? So I had to pull out from my tightly packed bag one of the notebooks, because that just goes to show. It's like there's a prophetic revelation when I'm doing this. it's pulled out from my ass in a way where later on I can't access that same psychic energy. So good thing I wrote it on a piece of paper. So I did write it on a piece of paper so I could write down, if you don't develop range, you won't develop control. And if you don't aim for range, you won't develop control. And so if you don't develop range, you won't aim for if you don't develop range, you won't develop control. If you don't aim for range, you won't develop control. The second occurrence, what I call the Y variable or control, refers to something a little different. So there's a category difference. It refers to something a little different.
So I have a question.
For your safety, please hold on to handrails at all times.
Then we got this fair check grab we got to do on the train, but I still want to finish this up. I don't have time to edit anymore. I don't have time to edit. What's the point of this if I got to hold up my notebooks? But the second thing refers to a different category entirely. It refers to a different category entirely, and there's overlap, but it's a different, of all things, range, I guess. Anyway, because the second thing is talking about the ability to read from a teleprompter well, or for that matter, ad lib as a broadcast news report, which is bare minimum, and to do it quickly. To have that kind of control. I'm talking about inflection. I'm talking about the voice. This is all about singing and Broadway. Yeah, and again, to talk about all this, it was very intensive, but this is literally just to be able to be someone with a couple fourplexes in rural Nevada, a couple fourplexes in rural Arizona. 10 years ago or 15 years ago, these were emerging markets, and but now we have to look at Alabama. Now we have to look at Michigan in order to do it, because that's where we can afford to buy in. But if you were smart 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whether you inherited a lot of money, got some properties, exchanged them into strip malls, or you sold them and you put down payments on, strip malls and apartment buildings in Las Vegas at the time. So I'm saying rural, but not even rural. You could have done it in Las Vegas. You could have done it in Phoenix. COVID-19 was a game changer because property values, or rather the median sales price of single family homes, which says a lot about commercial real estate too. They're not inextricable. They remain stable after government lowered the rate to 0.25, whatever it's called, their Fed rate. They have a specific thing they call it, but it's a rate, it's 0.25. And so now, because they lowered it 0.0 something or whatever it was, so now we get loans for, 3%. And so if it's cheaper to get the money to buy the house, the sellers are going to say, well, I'm going to charge you more for it. Supply demand. So to be that kind of person, and then you're going to go into like a food mart on Euclid Avenue, and because you're one of these people that for whatever reason, even though you've got all these lawyers in New York, you just never wanted them to hook you up with one of these fur coat European import models for a wedding day like Donald Trump got. So instead, I guess you like a Mexican that's a foot shorter than you or something like that, and you want to get her from inside of a food mart, and she's wearing a Padres jersey, and finally you see what you like, and she happens to have a 2-year-old daughter in a stroller. And you think about this unique situation.
For your safety, please hold on to handrails.
How do you buy her groceries for her as a way to get into her life? And if you're not prepared to do that, and for utter rejection is because, you're the patriarch. So utter rejection is something you do have to be kind of prepared for. But if you're not prepared for it, and you really don't know how to negotiate or handle a situation like that, or you really just don't think you can, it's probably less to do with that you wouldn't know what to say, and more to do with you're not ready yet for how to say it. And I'm going to tell you what my problem is. I'm talking to you. I'm very monotonous. I don't have enough inflection, and I don't have enough control. Now that comes with physical fitness action. So where we're going now is to SDSU, to where it's cool. It's in the afternoon. We're going to be try to get up to 100 push-ups. I used to be able to do reps at 200. I can only do 50. Now we're going to try to get up to 100 push-ups today and try to do maybe 5 reps of it. And that's going to, really, I've gone down a belt notch since I've been here. So it's a good thing, not a bad thing. Drink all this water. You piss right through your Van Hogen golf pants at the bus stop. And this is all the stuff you have to do, but it really goes to, if you're not trying to develop the ability to sing, like Brooke Baldwin, the CNN news anchor that I remember. I was always in elementary school. Brooke Baldwin. This might have been middle school. I think. When did they bring out Brooke Baldwin? It might have been when I was in high school. But I was Brooke Baldwin because I just look at her. It's a beautiful Southern belle. She had this smile that was bigger on one side of her face, and she had that dimple. And CNN and Brooke Baldwin would come on, but she became a Broadway actress later in life. And it's very interesting. I think she might have hit on the same knowledge. Speaking of Imric Sanchez, Imric Sanchez. He was saved by Russia like Edward Snowden, and he's talking about Latin America from Russia now. He has to get very far away from Latin America to talk about Latin America. Right there. So so maybe some things are born not made. And you can baptize by fire. That's the best way to learn how to count money, by the way, which I was talking about. It's the best way to learn all these little things is just baptized by fire. Learn to clean a train, baptized by fire. But maybe some people will end up being better singers than others, like Mariah Carey. I was talking about Mariah Carey, wanting to have sex with Mariah Carey when I was 10 years old. I just made a good choice because she had, speaking of the concept of range, she had actual talent as a singer and incredible control over her voice. Maybe some people just don't have genetically that same ability to the octave range. Maybe genetic. It is because the size of your larynx has to do with it. And but the durability of your larynx is developable, much like the muscles on your biceps or triceps. So if you don't aim to be as good as Mariah Carey, you'll never develop. And so yes, this goes to the Obama-esque poster that's on the elementary school wall that says, if you shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. So people are going to say, that's gay. That's child molestation. That's what we call pederasty. They love that word. These people because right there, if it's too hard for you, if it's overcompensation, if you're doing something you shouldn't be doing at the age 30, and that's something that a 12-year-old should be doing, and you stop trying to learn to be a ballerina at the age of 30, then something's really wrong because you need to be contributing to society under our slavery. But if you don't develop range, you won't develop control. And if you don't even aim for range, you definitely won't develop control. It actually requires that kind of to be able to become the gravitational force, the spinning wheelchair in the sky, to move so quickly, dance so quickly, and speak with the right speed and range, intonation, and it has to do with volume too. So when I say range, I'm not only talking about octave, I'm talking about volume. Can you sing quietly? Can you sing loudly? Can you speak quietly? Can you speak loudly? I have one volume I use. It's the radio announcer voice. But to the issue of why you feel like you're not ready to snatch that Mexican food for less that way. It's because one of the things that goes through your mind that you just can't, it's just completely unconscionable, is you don't want to be too loud, because that's why she would say, because of the people around her, you patriarch, I don't need your help, there's no victim here, I'm paying for my own groceries like everybody else, and you should be on welfare. But the problem is you don't have enough control at a lower volume.